Sticky shutter in Hasselblad Planar 2.8 and 80mm T star as the model C. Oh, it was good I saved my voice instead of said hello, but well, just do some fun about it. This is a nice old black Hasselblad C T star, and yeah, it has some problem and with the slow gear. So if I put it on one house, camera house, it will be possible to show what's going on. So if I set the shutter to something 15, 2.8, it should be 115 second, not 15 seconds, but a 15 part of a second or whatever. So if I press the shutter, it's a bit more than 115. No. So do it again. Okay, this actually looks like 1 second. If I put it to 180, 1.8, it should be even. I mean, yeah, it's a bit slow, I would guess. And so I will just take a look at it. Just zoom out a little so people can better see what's going on. Come on. Now, to cock the shutter at the same time when the the camera is attached to the lens, I have made me a small frame from a magazine, film magazine, and just simply cut off the most back. So it's just a frame that is attached to the camera. And so I can just attach it here. So, and as you can see, if I do so, I can still cock the shutter, and I can fire the shutter with the, you see the pin there. It wouldn't be possible if the camera was standing directly on my desk. Now, we need some tools to get into this whole thing, and I use some of those rubber cones. This is a 50mm, and the other end is 52.8mm. So it can fit very good here on the front of the so I can take off the nameplate. I will probably also use an old compass or new compass. This is just an old tool, and some screwdrivers can be very handy. At least one screwdriver is 2mm flathead, and I will also try a new 1.8mm for the German brand Vise. Some sort of tweezer in different shapes. It's very handy. And of course my my dentist tool, which is absolutely great to work with those things. The cones here can be very handy. They're rubber cones from Japan Hobby Tool in many different sizes, actually 6 different sizes, but in 12 different diameter, so, or even more. So, but let's jump into it. Let's see what we can do. where first we need to take off the nameplate, and I will just try to use the rubber cone, which is actually very good. I haven't been into this lens before, so I don't know what to expect. Okay, well, normally the nameplate would come off itself, and then the front lens group will I have to unscrew after. But how to deal with that? Well, just put it aside here. Now the rubber cones will actually works pretty good, I guess. If one could set one here. Nah, too small. Because I would like to have one of those attached to here. So I can have a good grip on it. But how about the front? Well, you see, sometimes I go to the hardware store and find some plumbing equipment for tubes, and there are many different sizes. But the point is, the rubber is very sticky. So it's good to work with lenses. Now, I need some garden gloves. It's amazing how much tools you can get in a hardware store. Now, what I would guess, if I could not get the front lens and the nameplate off in two pieces, so I would guess there is some Threadlocker on here. So we'll just see if we can have some nail polish remover or acetone. And I would guess a cotton bud will be perfect to just give the thread a little acetone look-alike nail polish remover, and then just let it suck into the cotton bud here, and then add some around here. That was not enough. Has to be really wet, and then let it suck into here. And there is only need to be very little. As you maybe can see, there is something wet in here. So I would guess that it should be possible to unscrew it right now with help for the cone tool here and a plumbing tool. I mean, plumbing is actually the I don't know, it's called an extender, or I mean, it's coming from a huge tube, 100mm or so, down to a small one. But let's see how it will go. Sometimes, wow, it's really tight, but it comes off, and so we can actually continue with the disassembly process. As you can see here, there are some tracks of Threadlocker, which Carl Zeiss actually use in some lenses, but we can just have it apart or just put it on the name ring and put it aside. Now, the front here, this ring here, has to come off, and it's attached by 3 screws. There, there, and there. And there's no need for gloves or other rubber tools. But we'll just use a flathead screwdriver, which is here, 2 mm, and let's see how it can go. And so out with that. I guess they are all the same length. Just to be sure how this is attached, we can just give it a mark here where this is, and just put a mark here so you know exactly where it should stay. And also down here. It's good to know because if you do not have the repair manual, I think it's out there somewhere, or one can buy it on the internet. So this is just coming off. This is how it looks, and then we are a bit closer to the what's actually going on in here. 3 screws, and since we already had set a mark, there shouldn't be necessary to put any other mark. So just, and one thing to mention under here, there should be one steel ball, so take care of, and a little spring. It's for the aperture click, the little steel ball. And though then the last screw will come out. So, and then the plate here will come off. This is deeper, not hole, but countersunk something. It's where the steel ball is moving around. You see it here? It's actually right here. Oh. And it's attached down in the groove, where one can just press it down. So it sits there, and when moving the shutter ring, it will just click. So let's take it out and do it gently, so the steel ball will not move around. A thing to mention is there is a notch over here, as you probably can see it there, and it's connected to the pin here. Just take off the aperture ring. So this one is, when I move this, is actually the shutter, I mean the exposure time. And the aperture ring, which is here, there is a notch here, difficult to see, there it is. And it's, on the other hand, moving the pin down here, if I can show it there. See the pin here? And it moved the aperture and also moved the two depth of field marks. So, and that was actually that. Now, then it's time to take out the, oh, should just take care of the steel ball here. The spring will just stay there. It's strong enough. I mean, it's just pressed in. So it will just stay there. Now, in this lens, there are 1, 2, 3, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 8. There's actually 8 screws around that hold the this cover for the shutter in place. There are 2 springs each side here, one there and the other one is over here, and they go in the opposite direction. I mean, if you look from here to there, but it goes, the direction is counterclockwise, is the way they put them in. So I'll just unscrew this. And as you can see here, this is the way it's faced. And that's what I mean, the facing is counterclockwise, just to remember. And then it's just straightforward to take the rest of the screw out. And it's good that the screws are magnetic. I mean, the screwdriver itself is magnetic. So, and this one here. So, and there is just 4 more screws. And there is a point when taking off this, because you do not take it straight up. It's not the way it works. So just to remember how this is facing, the last spring on the other side of the housing. Look how it sits. It sits like this way, and it sits in the last, I mean, the last hole of the 3, 1, 2, 3. The last screw is over here. and just unscrew it. So it is. All the screws are the same length. Maybe I'll just zoom out a little. It'll be easier to see. Now, one can lift this up here, and I mean, it should be possible. Looks like somebody else has been into this lens, but let's see how it will go. There shouldn't be any more screws, but it looks like I'm missing something. But with a strong torch, what's going on in here? Okay, there is actually one in here, just down there. Maybe you can see it, it's possible. But there's also another one. It depends on which. Some lenses has 9 screws, some have 8, some have 7, but this one also have 9. It is really difficult to reach. Not that easy. It's because of the pin here. Okay, I have to move this, the MXV, so I could just move this to the, if it's possible, I guess. So I can move this, so, and then it's possible to reach. And then come out a little screw. Okay, it's a different size. I mean, it looks like. Okay, that was now, then it should be possible to lift out. Yep, it is. And since there is no gap down here in some of the older lenses, there is a gap here where the pin can be taken out. So by turning this one, I mean, one have to lift out a little, and at the same time pressing here on this one here, and then it should be possible to, I mean, hopefully. Okay, and there isn't any more screws. No, I think it should stay there. So how about that? So if one press on the side of this PAL here, this piece here, and then at the same time move the tube here, and then lift it up, and this pin should stay there, then and twist it, so there, so when putting it back in has has to be something like that. There, this shape here is going under here, the red one. So when putting it in, it should be possible to put it down here, and if so, there, and then the pin will come out for the exposure, and then it can be a little tricky, but the small brass here should go into the point here, this here, and then the spring, the leaf spring down here can be a little annoying to when putting things in, but it's better to show when things are out. As you can see here, the plastic thingy here can sometimes flip up, but the spring is just a spring in here that's just a bit annoying, so maybe it's better to just press it down a little. See, sometimes it can be a little tricky to work with those older stuff. Now if I can have it there, yes. So this annoying spring here, he has to sit and press on this pin here, the pin here, and then it should be quite easy to just take it out. It's more tricky than the older one. See, the spring here has to be all the way here and doesn't attach this one. It's just to unlock the spring here and this pin. Now then it's time to go deeper into it. The light trap here has to come on, so just put it aside and put it over the cover so you will not miss it, because it can happen now and then. Now we are into the shutter actually, which you can see here. If I set it all the way over to here, it will set on B. So the first what's called shape, kind of a shape, it's 1 second. So it's the shutter, I mean the exposure plate here will stay something like there. It will be 1 second. I mean, it should be. But I think it missed some some movement, because it's way out of exposure. Click. And we could just put it, try to set it there, exposure, and just, if you can hear I just move it gently, but the slow gear is actually way too sticky with old oil. So let's jump into it. Take care of something. I mean, just have the camera exposures like this. I mean, cock the shutter. And remember, we will only take out the slow gear. There's no need to anything else. But turn it over here, will be easier. And then have a tool to take off the spring here around. And it's easier to take off the spring here than there. There's a reason why this is, in my opinion, why it has the shape, because then you can just go all the way around and the spring is free. I mean the lock ring, of course. Now the exposure plate, or whatever name it has, can be taken off. So it is. And maybe I should just fire the shutter. I think it will be easier in this situation. So set it to something like this, fire it. It's because come on, there, so off. It's because we have some gear wheel here where this reel here is connected to the gear here, and on the other hand connected to the pin that goes straight into the body, I mean to the underside of the lens. So by actually set a small mark, it'll be something like there. And since I do not clean any of this stuff, it's only the slow gear here that I will clean. So it's good to know if things sit correct. If it's only one piece out of alignment, it will not work. So therefore, you both have to sit there, and you also have to set a mark there. Now, then it's possible to take out the round wheel, and by using a tool here to lift it up, it should be possible to do. There's a spring over here, which of course I should have detached. So, and then take out the fork here. This fork here is connected to this pin down here. This one here. And it's actually also part of the shot, I mean the cocking gear. Now, the slow gear is absolutely free at the moment. There are two screws holding it in place. And by, just to make it easier for you to get the right exposure, it's good to have a tool to measure the distance between the wall here and the inside of the the slow gear here. Just to mention that it can be a really good thing to do, because when setting the the exposure time, the 1 second, this situation, the distance here should be correct. So I've measured the distance will maybe be different in your lens, so keep in mind. So loosen this and loosen the other end here, which sits under here. So you probably can see there is a small screw down there, which we have to fully unscrew. Oh, come on, little screw. Come out here. So. Now, there's another thing that also has to be very, very important. You see, this pin here, hopefully you can see it, maybe zoom in on a little, it will make it easier. My camera is not very good at macro, but you see here, this pin here should stay on the other side of this pin. So if you just put it back in and then let this this piece of metal here push on this side, it will not work. It has to stay on this side over here. So keep in mind that is it's placed correct. So over there and up with it, and then tighten the screw. You can always adjust it after that. So out with the long screw. I mean, it's longer than the other one. And then one can take out the whole slow gear. Also, one thing, this pin here has to go in and push on here. It's also important, but it should go straight forward when you put in the so let's see how it will go here. If I do so and let it just run, nothing will really happen. If I do something like that, you see it can move, but if I just set it as it was in the lens, so by or press on this here and press in here and release this and let the slow gear run, nothing really will happen because it's too sticky. So if I help it a little by pressing here, you can see there will be some movement, but it's way too slow. But if I jump it into something like 99% isopropyl alcohol and just dig it in, and give it some movement, something like that, You see, it will actually work. Just go a little closer there. Probably we can see there, it's better light. Okay. So I'll just move this a little. And as you can see, probably it will have some movement. Yeah, it's much better. And just give it some movement. I mean, it's just better to take out and press on here and simply give it some good motion. Let's see if I do so and release. See, there's actually life. Now it works again. Is it just amazing? Well, give it a little because there is also some old oil or grease or whatever dust inside here. So therefore it has to be clean. I could have used some lighter fluid, but the isopropyl is also very good for this task. You see, now it spins like new, so that's good. And just use some napkin just to wipe away most of it, and on the other hand just use the blower to get the rest of the isopropyl alcohol away. So it is, I think it will be good. Oh, I can see I need to change my battery, so we'll be back in a second. And then it's time to actually loop. Give it some loop. And the only place, in my opinion and my experience, which works very good, this is only to loop the axle ends. I use some Atlantic oil, which is very thin, and it's just I think it's the thinnest, or maybe there's one thinner for the sewing machine oil, but just put a little drop on it here. There. So now we just give it some movement so the oil can suck in to the way it really works. And just wipe away the rest. Now on the other side there is also some axle end. Should be there, there. And that should be fine, yeah. And then the same, give it some movement. You see, it spins like something new. Just wipe it away. And then it's ready to put back into the lens. See, let's see how it will work. Just put it on here and find the right place for them. I'll just add the long screw first, because then I can, when screw the screw in, I have to move this part here this way, and then it will sit in place. It's very important. Where did my screwdriver go? Here. So, and do not tighten it yet, because we will also have to put one other part into place. So by pushing the slow gear here and then push in this here, so it sits there. Now one can push it up here and just tighten this a little. Now things are in correct place at the moment. And there's one thing to mention about it, because if I have to put the when I put the small screw in here, this part here, I have to make some movement, and then it should be possible to do so. Not really. Now, it is also possible to put the screw in, so when just loosen this a little, loosen this screw a little, and this one will just relax, so it stays like there. Now put in the screw with a long thing. Where did that go? With a tweezer. So you know where it is. And it's possibly better with a screwdriver. So just put it in here. So, and it stays there. And we can just take off my screwdriver, and if it's possible to move this, where did it go? Here. Move the pin here into correct place, like there. See, the screw here is now hidden behind the piece here, And then I have to be sure this one sits correct. This place, this piece sits correct. So when actually moving it, I think it should work. Then tighten this and also almost tighten this screw here. So it's still it's a bit, I mean I can still move it. I mean that's the way you adjust how long or short 1 second or the longer exposure time will be. So this one I can screw almost in. This pin is also okay. And now it should be actually possible to put the ring here on and attach the spring over here, and on the little pin will be there. And this, then move this ring around and catch the other side here, which can be sometimes a little tricky to put into correct place. It should be there. I know it's sometimes it's not possible to see what's going on deeper in, but maybe you can see what's going on down there. Yeah, here. You see this pin here that will move. Oh, not easy. This one will move when this the part of the cocking gear will move. So let's see if I can put it in here and catch the right teeth. There. Oh, out of frame. Sorry. To catch the correct teeth here, which is very important. Just zoom out a little. Now then it should be possible to actually do some movement. I guess so. Another thing is the self timer here has a pin that you have to push all the way over to there and then press down this part here. It can sometimes be very difficult to get into place, but let's see how it will go. So if I cock the shutter like there and just see how it will go. Click. Wow, it looks actually pretty good, but how will 1 second be? So I will just let it stay there and put the exposure plate over. Has to stay over there. Sometimes the small pin for the self timer will come out of place, but let's see how it will go. So let's see there. Yeah. Let's see how 1 second is. Wow, it looks good. Yeah, I think it sounds like it is actually very good. Let's do it again. Yeah, it's pretty good. So I'll just take off this plate and tighten the screw for the slow gear. And of course, to do so, I need to cock the camera because it's hidden behind the pin here. So there, and this screw also have to be tightened. I can just cock the shutter and let it stay there, and then put on the plate. You see, the pin for the slow gear is free at the moment, so everything is actually correct in place. Give the plate here some movement so all the pin goes into correct place. And then this lock ring will come on and just go all the way around. And here we are. Wow, it works actually good. What if we go so? Yeah. Well, there's nothing else to say about that, except it works pretty good. So now it's time to put things back in again, and the the light trap here has to stay there. And then the more tricky part comes when putting on the housing here. It can sometimes be a good idea to flip up the red. It's actually the connection to the flash. But putting in this, one has to take care of the pin here, has to go all the way over there. In what's actually I think this pin here is for the depth of field. So let's see how it actually works. So it works pretty good. If the aperture mechanism under the shutter wouldn't work, this one wouldn't be that. You see, it flips in very easy, and then I can just move the aperture here, so it works. I mean, it works pretty good. So maybe need some sooner. But to put the house here on, we need to, be sure this spring is there. It's better it stays up there than down here. So just let it stay up there. It will be easier to when putting on the house. So by turning the housing here, it should be easier to put on. As you can see here. So by doing so, and when it comes over here, have a good look on it here. That this one should stay out there. Just to put this on, and the little brass pin has to come over here. Then twist it a little. The spring can sometimes be a little annoying, so yeah, there was a case here. So by putting in a tool, a flat tool here, to push the spring this way, it would be easier to put it in correct. And now things looks to be okay right now. So I will just put things in again, and I will begin with the spring here, because it sits over here. I think we'll just use my better screwdriver. It's more magnetic. So something like, well, sometimes it can be a problem to put in because things move around. But maybe it's better to do it this way. Yeah, here we go. That's fine. Just put in this spring here, no, this screw here. So. And then I can just screw the rest of the screws in. This screws is a little different from the older version. I mean, the amount of screws around the shutter is different. And on the slow gear there's just a tiny difference in the way they make it, or they have make it. There. I will just take a look at how things actually work, just to see things are working proper. Wow, it spins like new. So, and so we only miss 2 screws. Okay, there. And it's actually easier when the plastic thingy here for the flash is away, because it's easier to read down here. So, and the last one, which is a tiny one. I mean, it looks smaller on the screw head. So it is there. Yeah, it will work. Then screw it in like there. And then the shutter contact, I mean the flash contact, has to sit in place. I think this one was not attached proper, because it looks a bit worn out. But let's see how we can do this in a good way by the dentist tool. Nah. Where is another tool here? Have to push on the plate here just a little, and then push down on the plastic arm. Which should fall into correct position. Not really. Well, so here we are. Now, then it's attached to the contact into the shutter. Wow, so that was good. Now the aperture ring goes on here. Remember the notch here? This notch go into the pin here, down here. And it's better to put this down there. So, and then it can move. Very good. It will flip back, so we'll just let it go there. Now the load a screw on the screwdriver. It will be easier when you attach the plate here with a small hole here for the steel ball. And we can just attach the steel ball here. Just make it easier to do like this. And press it in. And hopefully it will stay there. Hopefully, yes, I guess so. Now things are ready to go in. The small notch here go into the pin over here. So one just has to put it on there and then press it on and just do some movement. Okay, I think my small steel ball just disappeared in a way. Okay, yeah, well, hold on a second. Now that was great fun. I actually found it in my just in my, what you say, candy bag on my table. And of course, well, he needs some sugar. That was fun. Now, of course, we give it some lube, so it will maybe stay place. Just add a little. This is just super lube, which is pretty good for something and not really that good for some other stuff. In my opinion, it's not very good for helicoils because it's too thick. But of course, some people would like it work very stiff, but I like it smooth. Now, let's see if we can get this to work. I would guess so. See, this notch here and this pin has to go into place. The aperture is also into place, so I would guess it will work. There it is. Just to be sure, the aperture stays should. Yeah. So the plate here can go on, and then and I've already loaded my screwdriver with a screw, and this then just attach it here, because the pressure on the spring will could maybe get things out of place. Could be. So, and the last screw. So, let's see it. Let's see how it will go. Let's set it on 1 second and full open. There, and got the shutter, and wow, Yeah. How about if I step down a little, something 11, still 1 second, yes. So it's pretty good. So I can actually just add in the plate here, the front plate here, put it in, and screw in the 3 screws. One can lift up this plate a little, because then it will access to the holes. There's no need for screw it in right now. I mean, tighten all the screws, because I will just do the same with the other. It's a little different made from the non-T version, which I already have made a film about. And so now the lens can go on, and I can just screw in the front lens group into here without the nameplate, and just use my handy rubber tool. Has to say click there, and screw in the front lens, the front lens group, of course, and then the nameplate, and again has to say click there, and then screw it in, and then we are actually done. I mean, how about that? And let's see how it would be there. Wow, that's pretty good. If I step down, I mean, if I press the film button, it will shut. So that's really good with this old lens. So if you, I mean, I hope you enjoyed the film and can use the information to maybe fix your lens. It's not that hard. Just have some patience. So there will be more films. Bye bye.